Did you know that your body can get stuck in fight or flight mode in times of extreme stress? Fight or flight mode, also known as a sympathetic reaction, is a reaction where your nervous system raises cortisol, where your body immediately wants to either escape or fight in order to conquer a threat. Stress impacts your fight or flight response by making it a fight or flight reaction. When people have high levels of cortisol, when your fight or flight is at its worst, which we call a sympathetic reaction, your body's not responding to threats or situations that cause pressure. It's reacting without really knowing what to do, without any sophisticated calculation, and without using any common sense or skill. When someone's suffering fight or flight, which means they're having a sympathetic reaction, the brain is in constant motion because your cortisol levels are up, preparing for the worst. So your body is in a survival reaction, even if the threat isn't really about survival. So when people are not relaxing and they're highly anxious, it's a great sign that they're suffering significant stress. Another sign that you might be in a sympathetic reaction or extremely stressed or in fight or flight mode is when you have high levels of anxiety, but it's extremely episodic. There's a situation that caused you to feel stressed, and that quick you feel anxious. When that trigger goes away, then your anxiety tends to come down. That's a telltale sign that you're definitely feeling stressed. So there are so many physical symptoms that go with fight or flight or that sympathetic reaction. One is racing thoughts. People have racing thoughts because you have a rush of blood flow, called hyperperfusion, that goes to your brain and makes your brain continuously try to think, what am I going to do? Why is this happening to me? And what's causing this? All part of the survival reaction. Another is people get abdominal stress. They get this really bad stress feeling in their abdomen. And it's because when you stress and your cortisol levels are high, your body immediately prohibits blood flow and oxygen from getting to your gut. So that causes the distress. Because your brain and your face and your jaw and everything in your head wants to deliver all of its hydration down to save your gut, your mouth becomes extremely dry. Most people don't realize when they're public speaking that we tend to need a glass of water because our mouths are dry. And it's not because we're thirsty, it's because we're stressed. Also, you may have physical somatic pains where your joints hurt, or you're gassy, or you feel bloated. And that's very common, all because of stress as well. Overall, it's most important to realize that when people are chronically stressed, or even if you're not chronically stressed, you're just experiencing stressful situations over and over again, it is common that you may feel adrenal fatigue. This means that your cortisol levels have been riding so high for so long that you now can no longer muster up enough energy just to do basic things like get up in the morning, exercise, focus at work. And then that fatigue causes you to be tired during the day. And at night, when you think you're going to sleep, you're tired and wired. Your body is tired, your mind is tired, but you can't shut it down or turn it off. So I've worked with so many patients who have this because I specialize in stress. So for example, I have a patient I'm working with right now, and the patient has a company that he's trying to run on his own. And because he has constant emergencies going on all day long, because he's a fixer. So someone's appliance breaks down, he runs there, he fixes it. He really needs people to work for him, but he can't really afford it. So because he's under this constant pressure, his hormones have then become completely turned on without turning off, to the point where it starts him laying in bed and not being able to sleep. Subsequently, he wakes up in the morning after he falls asleep around 5 o'clock in the morning to then be extremely tired during the day and too fatigued to be efficient at his job. He then is upset with himself because he's not efficient and can't get all of his work completed, that he's now shaming himself, causing himself to be his own worst enemy. That is now going to cause a cycle of what we call systemic or chronic stress. On top of that, he's too tired to do anything that's clerical because he can't think and he can't focus. So then he's not handing out his billing. So he has money that's due to him, and he's behind in paying his own bills because he hasn't invoiced any of his clients. So one of the greatest concerns that I have for people who suffer stress is they immediately begin to experience a lack of emotional intelligence. When their stress is up, their thinking drops down. When your cortisol levels are high, your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain right here, which acts as your secretary, is no longer available. So we immediately start to miscalculate things. We could be late for things. And if you're worried about being late for things, you could always be early for things to the point where you ruminate and you are inflexible now in the way that you function, all based on your worry. So when people suffer these type of symptoms, what happens is your entire body starts to shut down, starting with your prefrontal cortex first. So even though you're smart, and even though you may have gone to college, suddenly you can't do basic things like remember where your car keys are, where you're supposed to be, where you left your computer, and where your cell phone is. And because you can't find it, then you panic about more things. And that stress just continues the cycle and pile up on you. So what's the formula for restoring somebody who has high levels of stress? Let's take my appliance maintenance guy. First thing I did was I structured him. Gets up in the morning, same time every day, even weekends. Goes to bed every night, same time, every day, even weekends. I have him leave his phone downstairs in his kitchen so he's not on it all night. I have him drink a glass of water before he goes to bed so he can flush the plumbing. And lastly, I have him take a little magnesium and a little ashwagandha. Magnesium calms the nervous system. Ashwagandha brings down the cortisol, and he is now a sound sleeper. Number 3, exercise. I have him exercising, which is more of the cardio, stretching, breathing, maybe some Tai Chi, maybe shadow boxing in a mirror instead of pounding the bags, so we can bring the cortisol down and we get his body to relax and take in more oxygen. People, you want to raise your cortisol levels, cut off your oxygen and watch what happens to your stress levels. That's what happens to people who work out really, really hard. We want people to relax and allow your body to enjoy exercise. Lastly, this gentleman was a late night eater, and eating late at night was causing him his digestive system to constantly be at work. So when he's trying to digest all the way through his sleep until the morning, he no longer does that. His last meal is at 6:30 every night, followed by water, which is washing it all down. First thing in the morning, water with lemon to detox his whole body. So he gets up and takes a walk first thing in the morning. Lastly, he has gratitude. I make him say 3 things or 3 people he's grateful for who have ever sacrificed for him in his lifetime. And he says it in the mirror to himself every night before he goes to bed. And he says it again first thing when he wakes up in the morning. One of the interventions I highly recommend for reducing stress are breathing techniques. We don't want hard, labored breathing. We want slow breathing in through the nose, at least 3 seconds. And you want to breathe out of the mouth for 3 seconds. Ideally, you want to get in through the nose for 3 seconds and out of your nose for double, 6 seconds. That will guarantee that you're going to get your cortisol levels low. One of the strategies to rebalancing your mind and your body to reduce and get rid of stress is to improve your sleep quality. In order to do that, we want you going to sleep the same time every night and getting up the same time every day. If you have to use magnesium to help because your body is deficient of magnesium, which is a resting mineral, feel free to invest in magnesium glycinate. Ashwagandha, an adaptogen supplement, can reduce your cortisol levels. Leaving your phone away from the bed, not texting on your phone until the moment you want to go to sleep, highly recommended. Drinking a glass of water an hour before you go to bed to help your body detox and your brain detox at night is highly recommended. And lastly, gratitude. As you're about to fall asleep and you're laying in bed, name 3 people that you're grateful for and how they have sacrificed to make your life what it is today, or to make your life in your heart to feel special, and do the same thing in the morning when you wake up. Reducing your intake of caffeine is highly recommended in order to repair and restore your nervous system so you can live without stress. Why is that? When we take in caffeine, we are jump-starting our nervous system. Most people don't realize, because it's habitual, that we just drink caffeine or we eat things with caffeine because we believe that it just tastes great. We associate caffeine with increased energy. But with the increased energy of caffeine, we're also talking increased anxiety, increased worry, rumination over details that are not important, etc. When we get rid of caffeine and it's no longer in our diet, you have the ability to still enjoy food without all the negative consequences that come with caffeine. And as we know, most exciting drinks that we drink in this day and age is saturated with caffeine. Meditation. I highly recommend meditation. But the reality is most people don't know how to meditate. So if you go on YouTube and look up, how do I meditate, or how do you meditate successfully, you almost can't go wrong by just trying it, because even using any simple technique, even when it's not perfect, is better than what you're doing now. Gaining helpful thoughts, positive thoughts, relaxing your body, bringing your thoughts and your body together harmoniously with slow and deep breathing allows your body a chance to get out of the chronic stress cycle to start restructuring and repairing itself. Meditation is one of my top favorites as an intervention for stress. Havening. Havening is a technique. It's called delta wave frequency or delta wave therapy. We use the fingertips in our palms from our hairline down to our jawline, using a stroke that lasts about 2 seconds per stroke. When we use slow strokes on our face, our shoulders to our elbows, and even on our hands, we know through technology that it takes a gamma frequency, which is stress, and turns it into a delta frequency. Here's a better one that you can relate to. Little babies who won't go to sleep, they cry hysterically. The mom takes 2 fingers and rubs it on the child's forehead, and immediately the baby starts to fall asleep. That's what havening can do for somebody if you're suffering stress. And lastly, just give yourself a few affirmations while you're havening, like I'm a good person, I am calm, I'm responsible, or I have the ability to relax. Are you looking for more stress management tips? Look at our complete playlist on integrated functional health.